What's up, Ben? How's it going, man?
Going good, bro.
You ready for this live podcast?
Yeah, ready.
Has the game started yet? What time does the game start?
7:30, so it isn't on yet. Starts at 7:30.
7:30. Nice, nice. Well, dude, a lot's been going on in the NBA since the last games kind of wrapped up. Yesterday and the day before, we had some coaching movement already, or some coaches deciding to leave. Some injuries have happened that are implicating the playoffs, and some potential player movement also on the way from some people you might not be expecting to hear from. But without further ado, it's a We Talking About Sports podcast.
Yeah.
It's a live podcast, but we're going to count this as number 46. It's just Roland and Ben today. Roland, I was going to ask myself how
Damn,
you've been
you're
doing.
speaking about yourself in third person.
Talking about third person. Ben, how have you been, man? How's your
Good,
weekend?
bro. That actually came to mind with me also about how we like the Facebook lives. We don't actually count them as actual podcasts because we're never gonna get it. We're never gonna hit 100 like that, bro.
Yeah,
we're gonna start
counting these.
Getting like the UFC where they do their fight nights and their pay-per-views and they're all numbered differently.
We Talking About Sports Live 4.
4. I've been good, bro. I've been good. I'm watching these playoffs. The U.S. Open started today. I mean, we've had soccer, the Euros have been going hard, getting us through work smoothly. So there's a lot going on right now, a lot to talk about. We got some teams. We got a team in Texas that's a mess, and it ain't the Houston Rockets, baby. So I'm ready to shit on one of these other Texas teams today.
Shoot, all might be right in Texas basketball after the Mavs blow up. The Spurs will be the best again, so everything will be right, right in the world. But let's start there, though. I'm glad you brought up that team out of Texas. That's no team other than the Dallas Mavericks. They just got done getting eliminated by the Clippers. They were up 2-0, and they went ahead and lost went up 3-2, and then lost 2 more, right? So that was a 7-game series. Did I get that?
Yeah, there was the only 7-game series of the first round. Yeah, they lost in 7 again to the Clippers. Last year they had lost in 6. But I mean, we saw Donnie Nelson get let go yesterday, the basketball operations guy.
Drafted Luka.
Right, and from what I've heard, Luka really liked him, and I mean, they got along really well. I know that there's been some rumors of another front office personnel member not getting along with Luka or scolding him even. I read.
None other than Mr. Carlisle.
And then Carlisle leaves on his own, Roland. 2 years left on his deal.
His own.
You think so? They were supposed to bring him back was the thing, but he was supposed to be on the hot seat automatically. I mean, we've seen coaches get a lot more leeway by just winning that one title. And I mean, he did take down that Heat super team.
And granted, I mean, that was a long time ago, right?
2011.
2011. So it's been a little while, but the Mavs have consistently been one of the better teams, or they've always been competitive. I think they've maybe had 1 or 2 off years since that championship. And the main reason for their competitiveness is, Rick Carlisle, gaming them up. I look back to that 7-game series that they had with the Spurs. I want to say it was either 2013 or 2014. That veteran group was on their last legs, and I think Vince Carter ended up hitting a game-winning shot in the corner against the Spurs in Game 1.
Right.
Ended up being a 7-game series, but a lot of that was Rick Carlisle coaching them up. So, in my opinion, I've said it before, I view Rick Carlisle as like a top 5 type coach. Just in terms of game plans and X's and O's, I really think that he gets the most out of his team when it comes to that. I mean, his teams are always highly ranked when it comes to offensive efficiency. So I got to give him a lot of credit there. And he really hasn't had a lot to work with since he lost Dirk, and he's had this team pretty competitive. They just got Luka, who everybody wants to talk about as being the next big thing in the NBA, which I'm not going to argue that here today, but he's a well-renowned player. Some would call him a generational talent. And you're going to leave that on your own? Something doesn't sit right with me.
That makes sense, but it also has been said that Luka wasn't the biggest Rick Carlisle fan to begin with.
Yeah.
So, that's another thing. But I think it's consensus, like you said, a Rick Carlisle top 5 coach. I don't think that it's just you that holds him in that high regard. I think that's pretty much consensus from the coaches that are currently coaching in the NBA. I mean, he's up there on the list with Pop, Spoelstra, Nick Nurse.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? It's a certain type of guys, but it's Rick Carlisle did walk. The reason why him leaving on his own makes a little bit of sense to me is because there's some pretty good openings. Allen in the comments said 7 head coaching vacancies in the NBA now. He's going to have a pretty good batch of teams to choose from. And I don't think that either of us think that he won't be on the sideline next season, correct?
Correct. No, yeah, he's gonna end up somewhere else coaching. He's not gonna take one of those ESPN vacations where he ends up being a host for a year or two maybe while he waits. I think he's gonna hop right into it. Like you just said, and Alan said here in the comments, 7 head coach vacancies before the season's even over. Who knows what's gonna happen? I'm sure a lot of the guys that are there now in the playoffs coaching have a pretty solid footing on their job, but 7 vacancies before the end of the season. It's pretty crazy, and there's some good choices out there. I mean, he could end up going to Boston. I've seen a lot of people say that because he played there.
Right.
I saw you mention, and I kind of agree, if things don't work out with Coach Bud in Milwaukee, man, Carlisle would be a good fit there. Replace him.
I know Budenholzer's still the coach, but I mean, he's got to be on the ultimate hot seat the way that I know we're going to get into it a bit, but the way they blew that last game, that team might have a coaching vacancy. And my brother talks to me also, and he says that Mike D'Antoni, that the Bucks already have defense. They just need offense and to be, run efficiently offensively so that Mike D'Antoni could be the answer for the Milwaukee Bucks. Yeah. Doesn't sound that crazy either because the defense is already there. The players, the personnel for defense is there. They just need to smoothen out the offense because they're struggling at the end of games. They're struggling.
I saw Wally saying here the Blazers. Would you like him pairing up with Dame? Of course, the Blazers still have some other things they got to do in terms of their player personnel. But
some of those. Speaking of the Blazers, I saw they were interviewing 4 people, and I know D'Antoni was one of them. I know Becky Hammond was another one. There was another female who was an assistant coach somewhere at the moment as well. I think maybe with the Magic. Jason Kidd turned it down, but we had already talked about that. So for the Blazers, I think it's just as big as how the head coaching search is going to be for the Mavs. They're going to have to keep Dame happy because Dame's been loyal, but if they don't make the right hire, I don't want to be that guy, but I really the Becky Hammond and the other female who they're interviewing, is that really what's going to keep Dame there?
I would say those candidates that you mentioned are valid candidates, but you almost don't want to give a first-year coach. And again, I can't even say first year because we've seen. My point. Let me finish what I was going to say before I even correct myself. Is you don't want to give the keys to the car to a first-year coach when you're giving the car as like a Lamborghini, right? And you're kind of in the playoffs. You're already there on the cusp. That's a big responsibility for a first-year coach, much less being the first female NBA coach in the history. There's never been. Becky Hammond is already breaking down a lot of barriers, and she's going to continue. She's going to get – and somebody's going to give her that opportunity to be the first women's head coach or the other candidate.
Well, it's going to happen one day, but it's just not right for this team.
Yeah, you don't want to give a team that's on their last legs, like we talked about last week, saying how, the Sixers, if they don't get it done, you got to start thinking about blowing it up, right? So that's kind of the deal with the Blazers. They're on that last leg where they don't get it done in one of these next 1 to 2 tries or get really, really close. There's going to be some guys in some different homes here in this next season. So there's a lot pending on this season for the Blazers, almost too much for a first-year coach. And the reason why I was going to contradict myself is because Steve Nash got a first-year opportunity with the Nets, and they have championship aspiration. But that was a different situation. Those guys kind of chose Steve Nash, Katie and Kyrie did. Right. So yeah, that's going to be interesting to see what goes on with those coaching vacancies. But I do like to see, or I do see Carlisle going with Milwaukee. Yeah. But moving on from the coaches, let's hop right into the players. I'm going a little bit out of order here with what I had written down, but I saw it's pinned on the comments right now. Ron was talking about Luka maybe going to New Orleans and teaming up with Zion, who we all know Ron has named him as his next guy after LeBron has left, but or before LeBron's even left, he already identified him. But anyways, the rumors are Zion wants out of New Orleans. So maybe a year or two before his contract is up. But Zion's family is not happy with the way the organization's going right now. They view it a little dysfunctional. You really didn't know who their coach was going to be these last 2 seasons. Was I'm blanking out on his name.
Van Gundy.
SGV. He's out after this year. After 1 year, the coach before that is the name that I'm looking for. I'm blanking out though, but he was in and out for like at least 2 seasons. You didn't know if they were going to keep him or not. And they're just complaining about overall dysfunction. Do you think New Orleans has any chance at this rate of keeping Zion past his rookie contract?
If after year 2 it's already this bad, I think that his mind's pretty much made up. And Zion and when we're hearing his family, like Edgar says right there, Zion needs to be in a huge market, a big market. Like we're talking about LA, New York, Miami, something really big. And New York makes a lot of sense, although they already have Julius Randle. But bro, it's kind of pathetic just into year 2. Like, why didn't you just pull this shit on draft night and not get taken number 1 instead of waiting it out 2 years? Now it's been said that the whole time that the Pelicans organization's job has been to make Zion like the city, like the team, like the Pelicans, make him fall in love with the team. So that's what's been said and what the Pelicans' main thing was to do. Now they're moving on from Van Gundy. I don't know who they would bring in, but if they don't want Zion to leave, you got to think maybe he's going to have some input in the coaching vacancy as well. Do you think that he wanted Van Gundy out? Was that on him?
Man, I don't know. I think that there's just, like Alan's saying here in the comments, no continuity. I just think it comes down to organizational dysfunction. Kind of like it doesn't matter who you have in there as a coach, the organization just can't get out of its own way. But the only thing that I will say, it's hard for a team like New Orleans, who you just got over the Anthony Davis debacle. You saw Anthony Davis force his way out and get his way and end up in LA with LeBron, won his first championship there. But you just got done with that. You get Zion. You get gifted the number 1 pick right after that happens. You get Zion. And now he wants to leave 2 years, into his contract. So it's not for lack of trying. I'll say that. New Orleans has tried to get guys to come over there. They've been active in the free agent market.
Is Brandon Ingram going to re-sign with them?
Probably. Well, I don't know what his contract situation is. I think he might have already gotten paid. Brandon Ingram. I want to say he's a little bit older than Zion. So he might be into his second contract already. So he's probably locked in. And
Ingram and Zion isn't even that bad. It's just been their availability. Like if Ingram isn't hurt, then Zion's hurt, one or the other. And they have Steven Adams. They have Josh Hart on the team. They have some decent players.
Yeah, it's decent, but it's a small market team. So they're never
and it's
really
a young team as well. It's a young team as well.
Yeah, Brandon Ingram already signed. He got a 5-year, $158 million contract. Not too shabby. But yeah, he made out pretty well this last season. Rightfully, I think he won Most Improved Player last year.
Right.
So he's already made leaps and bounds and got his max contract.
Does Zion have an Uncle Dennis that's just going to pop out and force his way out of?
I don't know if he has. I don't know if he has an Uncle Dennis. I saw they were talking about it on Sports Talk today that his family has always been kind of close knit and made decisions as kind of like a unit before. So like they've already been operating this way, trying to call the shots and stuff. And a lot of it is, I just don't think they want to see Zion get wasted away in New Orleans, right? You see, and it's kind of tough because you look at Ja Morant in Memphis. You look at like Trae Young. I think Alex was bringing up in Atlanta. They're going to be homegrown for the most part, and they're going to be getting it done there in the cities that they got drafted in. So with the light that people were talking about Zion in, Zion was getting all the comparisons coming out, right? And his first 2 years have kind of been Pretty good. I mean, he had some games this year where he flashed and he showed what he's capable of. But you have the whole debacle with him not being in at the end of the game, him being on a minutes restriction 2 years into his career. So there's a lot of stuff going on in New Orleans. I don't necessarily blame them. I think we're going to see a lot of this, man. I honestly think the NBA is going to turn into soccer. I really do. I think we're going to see a lot of players moving. I think KD proved it. KD and LeBron are proving it. It's the name on the back of the jersey in the NBA. The player is going to come through no matter what. Like you're seeing KD, he's going to ball if he's in Golden State. He's going to ball if he's in Oklahoma City. He's going to ball in Brooklyn.
But KD did his time, Roland. Like Ron here says, great point, Roland. They don't want to waste Zion. Fam, he's 19 or 20 years old. Where's he going to waste? It's his rookie deal. Play out your rookie deal. Like, you can't be calling shots 2 years in. Get in the playoffs. Like, I mean, you were the man in college. You were the first pick, and he is doing his thing in the NBA. But these players that move around and they ball where they ball, they got rank in the league. And Zion doesn't have rank in the league yet. You have your rookie deal, bro. Play that out and then leave. You're not gonna. You're gonna be 21, 22 years old when your first deal's over. Where's he going to waste?
So you do have a problem with okay, well, let me say this because you're talking about rookies. So you don't like it when they're not even done with their rookie deal. You're fine with like what LeBron has done, with what KD has done and moving and
look at the names that we're talking about. Look at the names. Okay. Maybe Zion will get to that level one day.
I'm just understanding your argument and what you're saying. Yeah. You have a problem with the younger guys who are not even done with their rookie contract. Going in and saying that they want out. So Luka, for example, people are saying
it's his contract year, but he played out he's coming up on year 4. So after this year, his contract would be up and he could go wherever he'd like. Like Zion's going to be 21, 22 when his contract's up. 22, bro. And then he could choose any team that he wants. What's the big deal there? He's not going to waste at 22 years old.
I see your argument. I do. He has, in terms of, these other guys, he has a lot of basketball miles left on him, right? Like he hasn't even started to scratch the surface. I can play devil's advocate and say Zion might be a little bit more prone to those injuries. He also might have less basketball miles on him because of his body type.
I would also agree.
Running away like that.
I would agree.
I don't think he has the LeBron James career where he's playing 20 years. He plays maybe 10 years, 11 years with his body.
22 years old. I mean, he'll play till he's 30. He'll have 8 years left after his rookie contract. I think it's drama queenish. I think it's like what Eli Manning's he should have just done what Eli Manning's dad did at the draft and said, yo, we ain't going to the Chargers, fam. We're not going to you, and that's just the way it's going to be. Maybe if Zion had done that, he wouldn't have ended up with the Pelicans. But then you have guys like Trae Young. The Hawks have been terrible forever. And look, he's the man now because
Devin Booker.
John Morant, same thing with Devin Booker did get CP3, but he is the man on his team regardless. But I'm talking about these younger guys who got drafted in the same position as Zion to shitty teams because the shitty teams are the ones that pick at the top of the draft. So, your rookie, it's going to be on you to turn the franchise around. I mean, they have Brandon Ingram. He does have some help. Do they need a point guard who can kind of balance the whole team and manage and run the offense for the whole team because they're young? I think that's what they're missing. A veteran presence to, get them all in order.
We're talking the Pelicans and Zion specifically.
Right.
Okay. No, I agree. I agree with you there. And I think that I think that players growing up now have seen what's happened already. And again, like to your point, they're maybe not at the same stature as a LeBron James or a Kevin Durant, but they grew up watching that, right? Zion was a kid when he saw the big three form and LeBron left Cleveland. He saw KD go to the Warriors and stuff. So I think the younger generation is probably a little bit more inclined to go ahead and make those moves earlier than we're accustomed to. Is it a little troubling for these smaller markets when they draft a guy? They're like, shoot, we might not even have this guy through the end of his rookie contract. It's scary.
it's at that point now it's going to be to the point where the team really has to know that the guy, wants to be there, bro. Because if this is the type of shit that's going to be going on, I mean, you're going to be in the dumps for a decade if, players just don't want to be there because you
forever.
suck. But you're going to be picking there every year. You know what I mean? You got to get that guy, that John Morant, that's going to be loyal and take it upon himself to change that franchise around. You know what I mean? So it's the vetting process in the draft, I think, is what's going to be affected by this, because you're going to have to find out if the guy really wants to be there.
Well, shoot, man, we're going to be finding out a lot more about this, especially as the season gets closer, especially with the Luka situation, see if he signs his Supermax. And speaking of Supermaxes, the All-NBA teams, they came out this past week. We've been announcing awards since our last podcast. The All-NBA teams came out, and it's crazy to think about it this way. I saw it framed this way on Twitter a few times, and I kind of agree. The All-NBA is a media-given award, right? A lot of guys' contracts are contingent on making the All-NBA team. For example, these younger guys like Mitchell, Tatum, and there's a third guy thrown out that I'm blinking, Booker. These guys, they're coming up for their big contracts, and they need to make the All-NBA team to be eligible for the quote-unquote the Supermax, to be able to get that extra $30 or $45 million a year.
The bonus.
Yeah, the bonus, that extra year for that Supermax. So one guy that's eligible now for the Supermax is Joel Embiid. He was a All-NBA second team. He lost out to Jokic because there's only one center position. So he's eligible for the Supermax. But some guys, and who else? Jokic is now, and so is Luka. But he had it for a second consecutive season. So he's eligible to be 30% of the cap in 2022.
I mean, for the guys that got snubbed, sucks for them. But like Greg says, the team's got to love it. Right?
The team's got to love it because they save 7% on the cap. Instead of being 30% like Luka is going to be when he gets that $200 million extension, they're only going to be able to be worth 23% of the cap. So I see some guys here. I'm going to let the conversation go where they're taking it. Bridgewater's here talking about Butler over Tatum making 0 sense. Do you have a problem with the third team? Let's just go straight there. Do you have a problem with the NBA third team?
Can you name them off? Because I don't.
Yeah, I got you. All NBA third team: Kyrie Irving, Bradley Beal, Rudy Gobert, Jimmy Butler, Paul George.
I have a problem with. I would have put Westbrook over Kyrie.
Okay.
For third team.
And personally, I agree with Bridgewater 110%. Butler over Tatum makes 0%. 0%. 0 cents, excuse me. 0 cents to me at all. You look at the stats, even the teams, the Celtics were slightly better this year, I would say, than the Heat. Tatum got screwed over. The Celtics lucked out there, but Tatum did get screwed over on that one bad. And Donovan Mitchell got screwed over too. I'm not even talking about him.
Yeah, and for him, I think if he not been injured, he was guaranteed a spot on the All-NBA team with the success that the Jazz had.
The number 1 seed in the West.
Right. But I mean, he was injured for like 2 months of the season, I believe, down the stretch.
They played all about 55 games, all of those guys. It was all from 50 to 55. I even looked at that. The game range on these guys was nothing egregious. It was all pretty close when it comes to games played. Like Jimmy Butler, Mitchell, Tatum, they all played about the same amount of games. I have a big problem with Butler. Paul George is questionable, and I kind of agree. Who's the one that said they have a problem with Kyrie? I have a problem with Kyrie being there too.
I have a problem with Kyrie as well. I just think that Russell Westbrook, I think, should have made it. You could put Tatum. It's positionless, isn't it? Or are they still doing it by position?
No, they're still doing it by position. That's how Embiid ended up on the second team, because they could have put him as a power forward, but he literally logged 0 minutes as a power forward this year. So gotcha. I guess a lot of people had trouble with that. So I
think the biggest issues are Butler and Kyrie. Yeah, Butler and Kyrie, I believe that they could have been taken out. And I think that there's several guys that we could have put in there. Tatum, Mitchell. I think Westbrook could have gotten in at point guard. Is Mitchell considered a point guard or shooting guard?
Mitchell's a shooting guard.
Shooting guard. Okay, so I mean, yeah, I guess, but those guys deserved it over Butler is pretty much the consensus in the comments.
Yeah, and Booker got snubbed too.
Booker, exactly. I think you got to put Booker in over Butler for sure, but I mean Tatum as well. It's
shoot. I mean,
there's not enough spots if we're being honest, though, right?
And it's not positionless. So I mean, you got a guy like Joel Embiid who got bumped down to second team, right? LeBron James was a second teamer this year. So you have stuff like that happening. So just unfortunate for those guys that we named who aren't going to get that super max that everybody goes after every year. But yeah, that was the All NBA news. But speaking of, some of those teams that are still in the playoffs, like we just mentioned with Mitchell being the number 1 seed, they've been dealing with Michael Conley being out this whole series, and they find themselves down 2-3. But the team who's up 2-3 or 3-2 on them just won Game 5 without their stud, and they might not have him for the next 2 games. That's Kawhi Leonard. What was the first thing you thought of when you saw that news?
Run and grab the Jazz. Run and grab the Jazz, and I even got in there in time before they got bumped up to -7, -8. But I crashed out at halftime, thought it was over. They were up 10. Woke up this morning, and it says playoff P. Carries the Clippers to a game.
Gotta give that man his due. Gotta give him his due.
Pretty crazy that I think that was the last guy that we all expected to actually live up to it and come up clutch. I think, when Kyrie went down, we all kind of might have expected it from KD, and we'll get into that. But I don't think that we expected Paul George to get 39 and 13 or whatever it was in Utah, where
37 points on 12 of 22 shooting. 16 rebounds, 5 assists, 1 steal, 2 blocks.
I mean, he went off. And I know that Morris had 20. I believe Reggie Jackson had 20. There was a couple of guys that stepped up. That dunk that man had on Gobert, I saw the replay this morning. Bro, that's a second-year guy, and that's a guy who we were saying should have been getting run in the first series against the Mavs when they were struggling.
You got to hand back that Defensive Player of the Year award after getting yammed on like that.
I mean, but does Ben Simmons really deserve it? Because if we're taking it from him, we're giving it to Ben Simmons, and he's getting cooked by Trae Young in the fourth quarter. So playoff P, I was surprised as hell. I had the Jazz making the finals. I still have the Jazz winning the series.
So you got the Jazz coming back and winning 2 more. They're winning this next game in LA.
Kawhi's been ruled out already for Game 6. We were talking about it off air. If it's win or go home, maybe they throw him out there. But Kawhi has been very injury prone. I don't know if they risk it, and he kind of calls it himself. I think if Kawhi plays, I think it's going to be Kawhi's call, to be honest, in Game 7 if it gets there. But I don't see playoff P, doing that again, bro. I think that was a one-off.
You think they got their game? That was their their last stand kind of game,
Now Mike Conley is also questionable now.
And they got a lot of help from Morris. I got to give him his due. He couldn't miss last night. Reggie Jackson's been playing big. He scored, I want to say, over 20 points in back-to-back games. And he's been hitting the 3 ball. Like Reggie Jackson, the one thing I will say about him, and they mentioned it on the broadcast, but I've always felt this way about Reggie Jackson just by the way he plays. He's a guy that's not afraid of anybody. He kind of carries himself like a Russell Westbrook. Like he's not afraid of the moment. Sometimes it gets him into some bad shots where like he hit it nothing but net, but like he literally picked up his dribble at the worst spot, like the top of the key. It wasn't a 3-pointer, but it wasn't like a close 2, and he was stuck and he just shot it up and it went in. He just plays with that ultimate confidence.
He hasn't been scared to shoot. Exactly.
Yeah.
It's kind of like confidence. The Jordan Clarkson where, Jordan Clarkson, what was J.R. Smith mentality, baby?
Yeah,
they're all going in. They're all going in.
Yeah, so
how do you see it playing out? How do you see that series playing out? Now that it's 3-2.
I don't know. The thing that worries me is Donovan Mitchell. I don't know if he's 100%. I think he's kind of been hampered with that ankle since a few games ago. And if the Clippers can get another decent performance locked down at home, I can see the Clippers locking it up. If it goes back to Utah, all bets are off, and I'll probably end up siding with the Jazz to finish it, especially with no Kawhi. I don't see them winning in Utah again. That was the craziest part of all of this to me, is that they won in Utah, where Paul George has been known to stink it up. And he went and he gave it a game. So I'm one who loves to pile it on Paul George, just like everybody else does on social media. But I got to give that man his due. 37 points, 16 rebounds. When your Batman goes down, that's a big game.
No Kawhi, no Serge Ibaka this series. And I mean, they're leading 3-2 against the number 1 seed after being down 2-0. This is 3 in a row for them. Do you think Conley plays in the backs against the wall, win or go home game? Does he at least go and test it out? He's got to test it out, right? No, game 6.
Oh, game 6. Oh, yeah, it is. The backs are against the wall. I think he'll give it a go. It's an elimination game.
He's got to at least give it a go, right? I mean, if you injure it, you got all off season to recover. We've seen AD give it a go. We saw Harden give it a go. So I fully expect Mike Conley to play tomorrow night.
Well, that's, I guess, a positive when you're thinking about at least these guys are going to have the opportunity to give it a go. This next guy that we're talking about might not have that opportunity because he's not injured. He just came down with the Corona. Chris Paul, vaxxed. Man, fully vaxxed, still got the coronavirus, enters the health and safety protocol. That's because this man just came off a point guard game. He had 37 points in an elimination game. It was a 3-0 elimination game. Going to be a sweep.
Joby, sit down, Joby, and shut up.
But he took the MVP, took him out back, and he showed him the work. So they swept the Nuggets. Granted, they were a little hampered. We saw Jokic almost get in a fight with Devin Booker. Just to kind of recap that series, that was probably the biggest thing. His brothers were about to jump in. I don't know if you saw his brothers. People have been talking about that. But CP3. He's going to be out. He benefits from this series going 7 at least. He's going to miss some games in the first in this conference finals.
How much do you think that he misses? So he was positive for sure. So it wasn't contract tracing or nothing. So it's at least 2 weeks.
Yeah, he's at least 2 weeks. I'm saying he's missing at least the first 2 games. If this goes 7, it could be more, but he needs this series to go 7 games. I'll ask you kind of like I asked you with the Kawhi. What was your first reaction, your initial reaction to seeing the injury? The test?
The same as Edgar's comment, pretty much, that he can't catch a damn break, bro. If he ain't going to get injured, the virus is going to get his ass. I mean, I don't know. It probably could have been Joby and a little brujeria. I don't know if he busted out the Ouija board after Chris Paul went point guard mode and got in the Western Conference Finals. Joby really didn't want to give him any flowers. Let's be real.
Yeah, so, and he still said that he wasn't going to give him flowers. He commented on Twitter.
He still said, and then so maybe Joby took a trip down to the Valley also. I don't know if he went and visited that old lady over there in Ed Couch. They say she's 97 and she knows she's got all the juju. So insane. Chris Paul, I mean, you got to feel bad for the guy. I think that he's going to miss more than 2 games personally, even if it goes 7. Bad break. And I know Ron says it was the Suns' title to lose, but with CP3 out, I mean, do you see them? I see them down in the Western Conference Finals when he returns. It doesn't matter who they play.
Man, I'll tell you this. I think if he gets back by game 3, the Suns still have a chance to win, even if they're down 2-0. Because it's not an injury. He's not coming off a bum ankle where you're going to get CP3 at 50%. Or a bum hamstring where you don't know what you're going to get from him in that comeback game. You're going to get a fully healthy CP3 coming back. He might be out of rhythm. We saw Schroeder affected by the COVID.
We've seen several people.
And guys not come back themselves. So maybe I'm trying to convince myself because I'm a CP3 guy. I like CP3. I'm hurt that he got sick. I don't – man, it sucks. He can't catch a break. This is his best team, year 16, and then this happens to him. Not an injury like it happened with when they were going to eliminate Leo's Warriors when he was shaking in his boots before CP3's hamstring went out on him. But neither here nor there. It sucks, man. That's all I can say. But I do think they have a chance if he can get back by at least game 3. I'm not going to write them off yet because maybe they're going to play the Clippers without Kawhi. Maybe the Clippers win this game and Kawhi can't come back because it's a sprained ACL, and that usually takes a couple of weeks if they even think about coming back. And the Jazz, I could see them taking a game from the Jazz without CP3. Unlikely, probably. But
if they played the Jazz, the first 2 games would be on the road, and you don't want to go play in Utah without CP3 because he's, like we said, a lot of these teams, they need that guy that's going to calm the offense down, get everybody set up, and run the offense. So without CP3 in Utah, I could see it going bad for the Suns if Booker's not going God mode like he did in the closeout game with the Lakers. So it's going to be interesting. I don't agree that it's the Suns' title to lose because if CP3 misses more than 2 or 3 games, they're going to be down in the series when he returns. I think whoever wins the series between the Jazz and the Clippers actually has the advantage in the Western Conference Finals.
Okay. We'll leave it there. And before I'll just bring up what I was thinking about talking about before getting into the playoffs. Was LeCap, Mr. LeBron James. He found a way to get into the media. Do you want to talk about that real quick?
We should because
all right.
It's very contradicting of him.
Okay, so just for those of you guys who are in the comments, I'm pretty sure all of you guys
in the comments.
I'm sure all of you guys saw this on Twitter. I'm going to read off some of these tweets real quick. Here's LeBron James. This was yesterday. They all didn't want to listen to me about the start of the season. I knew exactly what would happen. I only wanted to protect the well-being of the players, which ultimately is a product and benefit of our game, in all caps. These injuries isn't just part of the game. It's the lack of pure rim rest before starting back up. 8, possibly 9 All-Stars have missed the playoffs, the most in league history. LeBron's letting us know. I agree. That's crazy. 8 All-Stars being out. That's crazy, insane. This is the best time of the year for our league and fans. But missing a ton of our favorite players, it's insane. If there's one person that know about the body and how it works all year round, guess who it is? It's me, LeBron James. I speak for the health of all of our players, and I hate to see these injuries at this time of the year. Sorry, fans. Wish you guys were seeing all your fave guys right now. LeBron James.
I wish y'all were still seeing me, guys. I wish. Bro, get out of here. Fam, you would have had all the rest. They were about to put the bubble to pause. Everybody was going to go home. And Pat Bev told us, shit, they did what LeBron told them to do. And LeBron and the Lakers wanted to keep playing and win their fake title, hang the banner that they never even hung. And now the turnaround's going to be quick, buddy. The turnaround's going to be quick. Would more rest have stopped Kyrie from stepping on Giannis's foot?
Probably not.
No.
Probably not.
Like,
that wasn't a fatigue injury.
It wasn't at all. So I don't agree with it for the most part. It is unfortunate of all these injuries, but like a lot of the guys that like Chris Paul, did the bubble stop him from getting corona? I mean, the season going longer didn't affect. Maybe early in the season, yes.
I looked at like the Jamal Murray one that hurt.
Right,
that was a torn ACL. That
for
was
sure.
Bad.
That one did, and especially because of his usage. But we saw guys that said they weren't even going to start the season from game 1. They were going to take a couple of weeks and then get back into it. The point is, he wanted to play that bubble, and he knew that the season was going to turn around quicker. Now, might he have been lobbying to extend it? Yes, but that fucks up everything else, bro. You can't cut into baseball's time for all of these months. You can't get into
the
football
Olympics.
Time, the Olympics, all that stuff. So, sorry, LeBron, you got to look at the bigger picture, and you also got to look in the mirror, bro, because I think that it was clearly a clout. He's clout chasing. That's it. That's what I think with this. On the court, he's got it, but here he's clout chasing. He's at home, not in the playoffs. They haven't shown a LeBron commercial since he's been sitting at home, so he had to find a way to get back in. Let the president of the Players Association speak up, LeBron. All right? That come on.
I agree with everything that you said for the most part. I mean, I even agree with what LeBron James was tweeting. I do think it's crazy that we have about 8 to 9 All-Stars that are out, all guys that are key contributors on their team. Like we just mentioned Jamal Murray. I was talking about the Nuggets being a championship contender, and with Jamal Murray goes down, that's horrible. You know, stuff like that. That sucks. The Kyrie injury, that sucks. That's an ankle, kind of what happened to Kawhi a couple of years ago. The Kawhi injury, That could possibly be fatigue related. A lot of these injuries might not be happening right now if it weren't for that the bubble going and the short rest. We all know the Heat and the Lakers only had 70 to 71 days to rest. I agree with everything that LeBron James said, but much like you highlighted, and I'm not going to go too much further into it, is he was the one who wanted to play 3 months after the season had stopped.
And there was a lot of shit going on at the time, Roland. Not only Corona, but it was all the protesting and a bunch of stuff.
He's the one that wanted to play. LeBron, I like LeBron as a player. We've had the conversation where we both think he is on the all-time great list. And this is just a bad look for him, especially after he was the one lobbying for them to come back. Now he's here trying to take the "I told you so" stance. It's just it's not a good look. It's not a good look for a guy that's held in such high regard in the basketball world to be saying stuff like that. The "I told you so" stuff, you can save it, LeBron. I'm not here for it. It's just like you said, it's clout chasing. I mean, he ended up in the news. His team's eliminated. He also announced that he's changing his number back to 6. So another jersey you guys can go out there and get. But
yeah, Ron, you wasted all your money on that 23. Go buy the 6 now. Right? Chill out.
So yeah, that's another thing. But let's stop talking about guys that aren't in the playoffs and let's get back to a playoff recap and we can talk about it. But this was probably before I go any further, was this Kevin Durant performance the best performance in the playoffs so far?
Was it the best performance in Kevin Durant's career? It was hands down the best. I can't say hands down. That book performance to boot the Lakers was pretty elite for the first half, but KD won them the game at the end, so it's got to supersede that one. But this got to be
17 and 10.
It's got to be the best game of KD's career, I think, personally. I mean, a triple-double with 17 rebounds, and Kyrie just went down. Harden's out there on one leg with 4 points. Ridiculous.
49 points on 17 rebounds and 10 assists. That's 16 of 23 shooting. Hey, that's efficient. That's efficient as heck. Sorry about that. Kevin Durant, I agree with you. This is probably his best game of his career. I think his biggest moment is still closing out LeBron. I don't know if it was for the first or the second title, but where he hit that pull-up 3 on LeBron to ice that game. I still want to say that's his biggest moment. But this game.
But this is the KD game.
Yeah, no Kyrie. Like you said, James Harden's out there on one leg. You got Jeff Green to give you a game, the game of his life. He gave you the game of his life last night or the night before. And he got it done. So
he played all 48 minutes, bro. This was that. You remember when LeBron was with the Cavs and their backs were against the wall and they had that game 6 where they were down 3-2 and LeBron wouldn't sit at all. This was identical. If the Nets were going to have any chance, they needed KD out there the whole game. And he played 40 minutes. And this is after coming off a torn Achilles that a lot of people said he would never be the same. He might be better. Because he had never put up a stat line like that. He didn't get the 50 because he missed that free throw at the end of the game. Yep. And he was pretty pissed at himself. The 50 piece would have just put the cherry on top. But he didn't get the 50 piece regardless, bro. That's what you call putting the team on your back. And Wally's here in the comments talking shit, but you know what he was saying at halftime about KD, that he was hiding in the corner and this and that. So whatever, Wally, get out of here. KD, game of his life, biggest game of the playoffs so far for sure. And solidifying himself as probably the top dog in the NBA right now. As far as if you want that guy, him and LeBron have kind of been taking turns, to be fair.
Well, to be fair, I thought KD took it from him when we're talking about him hitting that dagger.
But then he
in
got
his
hurt,
face,
and LeBron won his title, got Finals MVP, and got it back. And now KD's here again. Marky's been saying this is KD's league. This is KD's league. His bandwagoning ass. But he's got a point, man.
It's true.
KD's at the top of the mountain.
KD's the top dog, and especially, and I'm going to kind of transition it from here because I think you've touched it all about the Kevin Durant and that angle, but especially when you look at who he's doing it against. He's going up against Giannis, right? He was like Edgar's talking about here in the comments, the next best player in the world right now.
I wish he would have guarded. But Giannis didn't even.
The back-to-back MVP, He's won Defensive Player of the Year 2 times. He almost won it a third time this year. I want to say that's true, or he's been in contention for DPOY throughout the last couple of years. He was
number 4, yeah.
Okay, so he's been up in contention for that. And KD is straight taking him to school. The few times that I've seen Giannis on him, KD has torched him. It hasn't been pretty for Giannis at all. And then, so what, I guess transitioning off of the KD angle, is this a bad look for Giannis, what's going on right now?
Horrible.
The only thing I'll say, and I said it on Twitter the other day, it was just a comment, was, is 49 points too late? The comment that Giannis made saying that he wants that challenge of taking on KD after what happened. I was like, bud, you were supposed to say that before this game, knowing that KD's the only guy. So it's a bad look. It's a bad look.
It's like no IQ whatsoever, bro. What do you, after the game, you're saying that you want that challenge? How about when he put up 40? You could have stopped him getting that last 9. And it falls on him and also on the coach. The coach is horrible. I mean, PJ Tucker, he's making KD work, but KD's still getting buckets. And PJ Tucker, I mean, I love him. He's a dog, but he's got 0 points. You got to get him the fuck out of the game, bro. If he's not bringing you anything at all, get him out of the game, switch Giannis over, and let's get the popcorn out, because that's what everybody wants to see, and that's what
we're supposed to be seeing.
Exactly.
And when you want to talk about the money too, Giannis is a supermax guy, so he's saying that I'm that guy. We had the conversation about, well, if he leaves, is he going to create another super team or whatever? Giannis is talked about in that level of these guys. We talk about him as the top 10. Some people have him in the top 5. Right. He can do a lot of things for you on the basketball court. We all know where his deficiencies lie. But you're supposed to take on Kevin Durant. It should have never gotten to that point where KD is going for 49. You're supposed to have, if depending on what KD started on in the first half, I don't have his first half stats, but you start the third quarter guarding him at the very least. You got to make that in-game adjustment. So, and I'm glad you brought that up, because it's an even worse look on Budenholzer, in my opinion, because and I said it a couple of days, you let the one thing happen that wasn't supposed to happen.
The only way they could win.
The only way that they could win is Kevin Durant having a God mode game. And then it still would have been questionable, because you saw it was still a close game.
They barely won, and he had 49. You know what I mean? Like, and the adjustment is like, everybody on our couch, like, just he's got 4 inches on PJ at least. You have the reigning defensive player of the year who's 6'10", 6'11". What the fuck are we waiting for? Like, let's be honest. What are we doing? What are we doing?
Well, this is the same coach that barely played Giannis more than 35 minutes in a playoff game this year after having him for a couple of years.
And how does James Harden play more minutes than Giannis? Honestly, on one leg, Nash plays him more than Giannis. That's wild. That coach got to go, bro. That coach has to go.
It's a horrible look, man. There's no way the Bucks should be losing this series right now. There's no way, honestly. The Nets and the games without Kyrie or James Harden, when it was just KD prior to this, I think the number was thrown out. They were like 1-6 in the regular season.
And when neither played, they smacked them. The Bucks smacked them as well in this series.
Just inexcusable. But I guess I want to bring up, it kind of goes, and we can get into it with this other series. Is Giannis, is he more beatable in the playoffs? Because you kind of know what you're going to get you're going to get from him, and you know what you have to defend. Like, you see Blake Griffin was D'ing him up a few games this series because he was just stopping him from getting to the rim.
Right. Yeah, he doesn't have that many moves, but I think the biggest reason why I don't think he is because they're going to foul him and put him on the line. Like, it's kind of like Ben Simmons, how we've seen, his shot attempts in the fourth or whatever. You don't want to give Giannis the ball at the end because they'll just put him on the line. He's going to split them, and then you're going to go get a bucket. So that's when Middleton has been their closer for this year. I believe even in the first round, he had a big game winner over whoever the hell it was that they were playing in the first round. But Giannis isn't a closer. So for the playoffs, beast regular season player, but he's the definition of a regular season player because you can't go to him.
Is that a problem for you? when you're talking about where Giannis ranks as a top 5, top 7 player, like the fact that he's not the closer and that it is Middleton, because Giannis is watching the ball when there's 10 seconds left on the clock and they need a bucket. He is watching. Is that a problem for you?
It's a problem for me that he can't close, but I'm not going to say that he's not a franchise player, because we saw that Shaq had the same problem with the hack of Shaq, and they wouldn't go to him, but then he had Kobe step up and, be the closer. So that's just not going to be Giannis's role. He's going to carry you all the way there, but in the last 2 minutes, the shot makers are going to have to make the shot if the game is close. But you can't go to the guy, bro, because they're going to wrap him up, put him on the line, and he's going to split at best. Mm-hmm. I mean, have we seen him make 2 in a row this whole playoffs?
No, but he cashed one for me that was huge. I took a prop.
But he split those.
He split that. Yeah, I hit the first one. But hey, Edgar, watch out, man. I agree with your comment there, because I was pissed off. But I don't know if Kwame's watching this. I doubt that he is, but I don't want any trouble
Brown's
for you.
hands, though. Yeah. He's right. Well, he was looking at the dunk before he got the ball in his hand.
Man, that drop. I was on the Bucks, just for anybody that wants to know. I took the Bucks money line, I think, at one point.
And a hell of a pass from Holiday, because all he had to do was catch it, turn around, and dunk it. But he was already dunking it before he caught it. That was a bad look. On top of blowing that lead, that was just the icing on it, bro. That was horrible.
So, I think we can move on. I think we've touched on all of this, and you brought up blowing leads and shit. This team that we're about to talk about blew a 30-point lead, I want to say. 26 points
in the third
to the Atlanta Hawks. We're talking about the Sixers and the Hawks. It was game 5 in Philly. Sixers were in control for the 3rd straight game, I think, in my opinion, from wire to wire.
26-point lead?
They end up blowing the lead. The game is it's a crazy back and forth at the end. Was this the Embiid 0 for 12 game in the second half, or was this the game before? Am I blurring?
That was the game before that they had as well. And this one, he had like 1 field goal, but again, horrible.
But it was him and Curry were the only ones that scored in the second half from the 76ers, are the only ones that made a field goal and not a free throw.
Right.
Man,
Tobias Harris had 4 points. Ben Simmons had 8 points. It was Curry and Embiid.
So the question I'll ask to get us going is this a bigger victory for the Hawks, or is this a bigger loss on the Sixers?
Well, you gotta the blowing of the lead and the number 1 seed. I think that's going to highlight it. I mean, it was a huge win for the Hawks. Might be one of the biggest wins in their franchise's history as of late, for sure, especially in Philly, and the fact that they're going back home and they can close it out at home, where they have played the Sixers pretty tough. I hear that they're going to be wearing all black to the game because it's the 76ers funeral tomorrow. We'll see. I could see Atlanta doing that, but I think the 76ers, and I had them winning. Me and Marky have a friendly wager. I think that I think the nail might be in the coffin, bro. I didn't like the way they were. I mean, you're not going to walk off the court feeling good or any good body language after blowing a 26-point lead, but it was just nasty to see. And it being like the second game in a row that they do it, now they're going back to Atlanta. You just can't count on Ben Simmons at all. 4 of 14 from the line yesterday. I mean, the dude's horrible. They're having to take him out in the 4th quarter because they'll foul him on purpose and just have him shoot free throws. So then they play him the last 2 minutes, but if they can't give him the ball, because if they give him the ball, they're going to wrap him up and put him on the line as well. I'm happy the Rockets didn't trade James Harden for Ben Simmons is my biggest takeaway for this series, because the dude looks over. And I know, Roland, you're high on Ben Simmons.
I like Ben Simmons, yeah.
He looks overrated as hell, bro.
I think he falls into almost the same category as Giannis, probably just on a lesser degree because he's not as good as Giannis. But what I'm saying is, I'm just talking about them being more regular season players. Ben Simmons benefits more when you're in transition. He's never been a half court player. He gets bailed out a little bit because he can post up and he can maybe hit the little turnaround quick little thing that's maybe still within like 7 feet of the rim. If he's still operating off of the first block. He hasn't moved off the first block, right? He's still like around the circle. That's all that he is, and that's kind of disappointing from one aspect of he hasn't developed since he came into the league
at all.
At all. He hasn't developed. Giannis has developed a little bit more. He has a little bit more to his game than Ben Simmons, and we see that. Giannis is a more talented player than Ben Simmons. But like everybody's saying in the comments, and like you've highlighted, it's just hard to have him on the court in crunch time. And when he's one of your franchise players,
the point guard also rolled it.
The point guard,
he initiates
your maestro. He initiates the offense for you. That's hard to overcome. So you need to find ways to keep him in the game because he's a good defender. You need him to try and guard a Trae Young, who he had been having success against prior to this game. But it's scary times in Philadelphia right now. I'm not going to go in and say that the nail is in the coffin because the one thing that I still like about this team is they play defense. They're always going to play defense. They're a hard-nosed defensive team. All of their best players are pretty good defenders that are on the court. So the Danny Green injury, I didn't think initially was going to be a big loss.
You think it's big? It's a big loss.
He was a part of their starting five for a better part of the year, and that was the most successful starting five that they've had all year. Was a Danny Green being there.
So didn't Curry get bumped into the starting lineup? Or
I think no, it was that Cosmot guy, the Euro number 30.
And
the guy
he actually had a pretty good game.
Yeah. He's been playing good these past few games. So I still think their defense gives them a chance.
Roland, let's talk about Doc Rivers though, because I think is this on Doc Rivers as more than it is on Embiid? I mean,
well, look, I wanted to get to Embiid first too because he's had two bad second halves in a row.
And still like 37, 39 points, but the fourth
he's
quarter
still balling. He's still balling. Don't get me wrong. When you look at his stat sheet, it's hard to get mad at the guy because if he doesn't do that, it's a blowout. So he's been putting the team on his back. He needs a little bit of help, like Bridgewater was saying. These guys are putting up rec league numbers, Simmons and Harris. And
he's on a dumb knee.
They're looking like me out there playing with the salsa, putting up 1 point or 2 points. But I don't get paid millions of dollars. These guys get paid millions of dollars.
$30 million a year.
Yeah, exactly. So Tobias, I'll give him a little bit of a break because he has been playing good this series. I think this was probably his first off game that he's had. And that's another reason why I like the Sixers to get to a Game 7, because I don't think you're going to get back-to-back shitty games from Tobias Harris. And they're already right there defending and playing well. Chalk me up. Put me on the Sixers bandwagon one more game. I think they get it to Game 7. 7-game series, and they're going to win Game 7.
So Embiid, before we get to Doc, because we have to get to Doc. But Embiid, are we putting the blame on him on a bum knee, putting up the stats that he is, but not closing?
You got to look at the closing, man, because the layup that he missed in this last game, he missed a bad layup.
It was I think that was a game 4.
Yeah, Game 4. Yes, he missed a wide open layup.
He missed 2 free throws, Game 5.
Yeah, it's a bad look, and
it is a bad
fatigue.
Look. It is a bad look, but on a bum knee and the fucking numbers are there. It's just hard to blame a guy. It's hard to blame a guy knowing that most guys wouldn't be out there playing on torn MCLs. He's 7 foot and he's still averaging 35 for the series and 13 boards. It's hard to put the blame on the guy, but if anybody's going to close the game, it's going to have to be him if we're being honest. So he's going to have to get it together. But now Doc Rivers, bro. Doc Rivers.
I'm just going to say this. I talk about guys like lucking up, like getting lucky and ending up somewhere. It's all circumstance. I talk about guys failing upwards. I won't necessarily say that he's failed upwards, but he is the greatest example of success based on circumstance. He would literally be Del Curry right now. He would be Del Curry right now if he didn't luck up with the Sixers, not the Sixers, with the Celtics, and end up with Garnett and Paul Pierce and Ray Allen on his team. Yeah. And he still you can make the argument that one title with that 3, granted it was all kind of towards the end of their peak, was not enough, right? So I'm just saying his name has been elevated in coaching for so long off of that one title. And it's crazy because if you look at it, he doesn't make halftime adjustments. He just stays there looking, just with that worried look on his face. And he lets the players, he's a player's coach, but it's because he literally just lets the players go out there and play. And he's like, okay, they're gonna get out of it. At least call a timeout, guy. But I'm not a big Doc Rivers fan. I'm sure he's a nice guy. Every time he talks, very eloquent. He knows what he's saying.
And he stays capping for Ben Simmons.
And he caps for his guys. He caps for his guys. He does. He had the moment where he was crying for the Clippers to stay together with CP3 and all of that stuff. He goes hard for his guys, but consistently underperforms with the talent that he has. And it has to be talked about because a lot of people don't say anything about.
Is he on any type of hot seat?
He just got there this year, right? So it's hard to say that he's on a hot seat.
But
they're a 1 seed.
But it's got to be.
Hey, Dwayne Casey got fired off a 1 seed.
Off a coach of the year.
Yeah, and the coach of the year. True.
I don't see them getting rid of him, but man, I think it's answered all of our questions. I mean, we see Ty Lue and the adjustments. Ty Lue won a game without Kawhi against the Jazz. I mean, Ty Lue's shown that the Clippers can adjust. It's Doc Rivers, like you said. I mean, that championship has bought him. I alluded to it earlier. How much time does championships buy coaches? He's been held in elite status off having 3-4 Hall of Famers on the team and winning a title, one title. Granted, Kobe was still around and it was kind of in his prime, but man, Doc Rivers, not a good look at all. I agree with you. If he hadn't won that title, he'd be front row at all of Austin Rivers games, bro, cheering him on with his wife by his side.
And that's not bad.
It's not bad at all. But we got to stop. I mean, and maybe a lot of people already don't think that Doc Rivers is that type of guy, but I think that the book, like Bridge said, what's the book on Doc Rivers? I think the book's out there that he just needs the talent and maybe he can manage egos, but he doesn't really, he's not an X's and O's guy by any means at all.
Or at least it doesn't look like it, right?
No.
And, it's kind of crazy because he did have the big three. Then after that, before that even, he had like Tracy McGrady and Grant Hill. I saw some picture. Tracy McGrady, Grant Hill. He had the big three where he won the one title. He had Lob City, which they were all competitive, but they all could never really get over the hump, right? Mm-hmm. There's always something missing there.
He had probably Chris Paul and Blake in both of their primes, for sure. Mm-hmm. And then he had a year of Kawhi and Paul George as well. So
true.
The guy has had some squads, bro, and he's underachieved a lot. Like for that, we also got to remember that lead the Clippers choked last year, and Doc was the coach of that team, a 3-1 lead to the Denver Nuggets, the baby Nuggets, before the Western Conference Finals. So, yeah, for me, hey Doc, I mean, good career, man, but you're not one of those top guys that your name recognition leads people on to believe.
But hey, let's talk about the team that won the game and that's up 3-2. What's your big takeaway on the Hawks? Is it Trae Young?
Trae Young doesn't get rattled. I think that's the biggest thing for me. I remember I was annoyed by Trae Young a lot in college because ESPN would have the Trae Young tracker and all that shit. It was just annoying. And a Longhorns fan, he played for Oklahoma. Yeah. So I just wasn't a big fan of the dude. But, man, after what he did in New York and the way that he takes it, he's competitive about it. It feels like he enjoys the moment and he just soaks it in. And like Lou Will said, he was excited as hell because this was going to be his first go at the playoffs. And, bro, he's making it a go. I know you were talking about some stuff that Big Perk was talking about earlier, and I'll let you get to it in a bit.
Yeah.
But the guy is hey, hats off. I got to tip my hat to Trae Young because he's living up to it. And I know that I joked maybe with the Mavs fucked up trading Trae for Luka, but it was a lot of trolling. But man, this guy's making a lot of people a believer, bro. Yeah, he's making a lot of people a believer.
And we talked about it a lot. We've had a lot of Twitter conversations about this, and Bridgewater's talking about it right now in the comments about that trade. Looking better and better. And yes, Luka, we hold him up as his generational talent, and he probably is a better overall player than Trae Young. But Trae Young is working out for Atlanta. How is Atlanta going to complain about what they have in Trae Young right now? They're winning more than they've won in the past 10 years. And it's because of number 11, Trae Young, the guy.
And they're doing it like enjoyable, like people enjoy watching them play. He's not just chucking anymore. He's throwing out lobs. He's shooting his threes when he needs them. Mm-hmm. And in the fourth quarter, he's making it his fucking time.
Dude,
he's taking it among himself.
His floater is deadly. Once he gets that first step on you and you want to cut off his track to the rim, he's not afraid to throw it up there. And I'm glad you brought up him not being a chucker anymore. I mean, I had him on my fantasy basketball team all year, so I've looked at his box score almost every night this past year. And there were some games out there where you see, like, how do you go 3 for 19? Like, how do you do stuff like that? But
the coaching change,
the coaching change. Nate McMillan coming in. Trae Young has been playing like a true point guard. He's been utilizing the fact that he is a Steph Curry offspring. I'm not saying that he's Steph Curry 2.0, but he has that type of game. He has that game where you have to guard him out. So far, the defense is at an immediate disadvantage. And if you're smart enough to take advantage of that, like Trae Young is proving that he is, you're almost an impossible guard. And what I'm alluding to is he is an elite status right now when it comes to averaging or creating points per game based on assists. So he's creating 29 points a game on assists. That's great, or that's best for 5th all time in the playoffs. I think the 3rd highest mark that they're bringing up in this article was Russell Westbrook was at 30 points a game off of assists. You have Trae Young making the guys around him better, and it's looking easy. They're getting easy buckets. That's why I liked them to beat the Knicks, because he was breaking down the first line of defense, and it was just pick them from there. I'm either going to hit the floater, going to hit the floater, or I'm going to dish it out, and everything's so much easier for his teammates. So yeah, I love watching Trae Young play. The mode that he's in right now, it's fun to watch. He plays with the utmost confidence, and that's probably my biggest takeaway also from the Hawks, is that Trae Young's that guy. He's gonna be the guy that leads that franchise.
Also, remember, coming into the season, there was a lot of tension between him and Collins, who were their 2 best players. It was like, for sure, Collins ain't coming back. He's gonna be a free agent. He's not gonna re-sign. Collins might get traded mid-season. We heard all about it. They did the coaching change. Trae changed his style of play. Everybody's getting involved now, and they surrounded him with a bunch of shooters, man. Werder's hitting shots. Bogey's hitting shots. Collins is hitting the corner 3. Lou Will had the game of his life as well. I mean, that was a true vet game from Lou Will, that game 5. So
sure, and he's the vet that ended up being the one that they needed. We all thought it was Rondo. It ends up being Lou Will, the guy that they swapped him for.
Yeah. So I mean, hats off to Trae Young. Hats off to the Hawks. I do think that they just, I mean, if they don't close out the 76ers in Game 6, the 76ers will win the series. But I mean, I hope that they don't, but I like their chances, bro. They're playing with a lot of confidence, and to me, the 76ers seem broken after back-to-back, busted leads.
Do we know what the line is? I'm gonna pull it up if you know it.
I don't know it off the top of my head. No,
right,
I don't.
Give me a second, because I want to ask a poll here, and if you guys are watching go ahead and comment what side you're gonna be on for Game 6 as soon as I pull up this line. I just wanted to ask. And
Bridge says he embraces the clutch for sure, bro. Like in New York, you knew. And even when he lost, he's like, all right, we'll see you in the A. We're 1-1. Yeah, you got us this one game, but we'll see you over there where we're going to take care of business. I didn't like the guy coming in, but man, he's gained my respect just based off of his play. You know what I mean? Like, he's balling and he's not scared.
All right. So here's the line for the game tomorrow night. Do you want to guess first, or does anybody want to guess?
I'm going to say Hawks plus 1.5. Okay,
it's actually Hawks plus 3. So the Sixers are 3-point favorites. They're favored by 1 bucket. The over/unders at 221 and a half, and the Sixers are minus 150 on the money line, and the Hawks are plus 130. Are you on the plus 3? I'm not saying you have to take it, but
you gotta be. I think you gotta be with them at home, and you're getting a whole 3. And I mean, most of their games have been coming down to the end, and no lead is safe with the Sixers, bro. So you just gotta like any points that you're getting, I think.
And so, do you also buy into? You brought it up a little bit. Do you think they're a little deflated right now, or do you think
that they got? I mean, unless Tobias Harris and Ben Simmons are gonna come out and have statement games because of their performances last game. Atlanta is rolling. They got all the confidence. They're going to be at home. Quavo's
At
going to be in the
home.
front row. Little Baby's going to be in the front row. Like we said, they're rolling out the All Blacks tomorrow. Man, they're playing with a lot of confidence. Their chemistry seems really good. They all seem to buy in, and they're all behind Trae Young. It's not, it's evident that Trae's their guy. He's going to get them there, and now he's getting everybody involved. So I'll take the 3. I'll take the 3 with the Hawks.
I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to be on the opposite side of this. I'm going to take the Sixers -3. Like I said when we first talked about it, before I brought up the line, I like the fact that they've played defense. If you look up until this last debacle, they've dominated the better half of the past couple of games that they've been a part of. I think they're going to get it done. I don't think we're going to see another 4-point game out of Tobias Harris. I can't account for Ben Simmons anymore as much as I would like to, because I do like him as a player. But I don't think Tobias Harris is going to give you another 4-point effort. They still can't stop Embiid, even though we talked about him having 2 consecutive bad second halves. So yeah, give me the Sixers. Man, they had them dead to rights last game. I think they're gonna.
They should have been closed out. They've blown 2 leads.
They're gonna hang on that. They're gonna say we've beat this team 2 times in a row. We just haven't finished, and they're gonna get it done. And they're gonna end up winning.
Who takes the biggest hit if the Sixers do lose this series? Doc Rivers, Joel Embiid, or Ben Simmons?
It's probably gonna be Ben Simmons, because Embiid's gonna. They're not gonna stop Embiid. I mean, Embiid's good for.
He's their guy. So you think Simmons will for sure be gone if they blow this?
Simmons is going to be gone. And, the whole thing that I've been thinking about is the Sixers have said that they know that Simmons is not this scorer. They know that he's never going to be this offensive threat. They've been saying that. So they know that. And their other franchise player is a guy that operates in the paint. It's just not a good fit for Simmons. If we really think about it, he can't operate as freely as he would like to. So yeah, Simmons is going to go. Embiid's a better player. It's just that for Simmons to be a little bit better, in my opinion, he would probably benefit from not playing alongside a 5 that operates in the paint as much as Embiid does. He probably needs a little bit more space.
And Tobias Harris isn't the greatest 3-point shooter either.
He's improved this year.
No, but he's more of a mid-range guy also. So it's very clogged for them, for sure.
So I'd probably say Simmons takes a hit, and we've already talked about, man, the book's out on Doc Rivers, especially if they go down in 6 as a number 1 seed to a team that they're barely doing it.
Conference finals.
They're barely doing it. This is the Hawks, this is their first go around in the playoffs. Right. These guys, and you're getting it handed to you. So yeah, bad look for them there. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and take the -3. I wanted to maybe do a little contest, but I don't think anybody's in the comments would pick would want to do that. But I was going to say, let's pick the spread before we log off. Pick the spread for the Clippers and the Jazz. So the Clippers are 1-point dogs at home.
I like the Jazz
against the Jazz as 1-point favorites.
I like the Jazz.
I think the Jazz get it done. I think we see a game 7 in this one for sure, and they'll probably close it out at home.
Hey, Roland, and just real quick before we log out, we are a LaMelo Ball podcast, and our boy won Rookie of the Year.
Rookie of the Year. I was wrong. I thought Edwards was gonna end up.
So did I, just based off the injury. But the clout's real, man. And the league, they wanted LaMelo to be the face. So
hell yeah, baby. Hey, we were on him from the very beginning. That's all I got to say.
Before draft night, we were as confident as LeVar was. We were touting the kid. And I still believe the Warriors fucked up not drafting him.
Because there was some talk, and again, I don't want to, because yes, he is the Rookie of the Year. We're not geniuses by any means for saying that he was going to be a good player, but there was a lot of detractors. There were a lot of LaMelo Ball detractors out there saying, "Oh, we don't know how this is all going to work out because of his play style. He's been playing.
League he played in.
Yeah, he's been playing in a bum league, or the Australian basketball league's not so bad, but that Lithuanian one was still a little lower ranked. But he was 15 or 14 when he was doing it. So the reason why I liked him a lot is I just thought that if there was anybody that was born and created to be an NBA player, it was LaMelo Ball. Just the way that he was. The way that he was brought up. He's been playing at the same level as Lonzo since he was in the 5th grade. You see those videos of the little midget LaMelo Ball just chunking the ball up every time he got it. So he was cultivated. This was not this isn't happening by accident. This all happened because
And everything was there. Like he had the height, he had the passing, he had the range, and another guy who got drafted by a team that's been shit forever. And hey, they made the play-in. I don't know. I don't think that they made the playoffs, but they were in the play-in. And LaMelo isn't saying, yo, I want to be out of here. I want to be out of Charlotte. Like, hats off to Michael Jordan for finally getting a draft pick right, man. And he hit big with this one. I think that, that's a really small market, and LaMelo's going to kind of blow them up for as long as he's there. I'll say that. I don't know how long he will be there, but as long as he's there, they're going to be getting the ESPN attention. LaMelo Ball jerseys will be selling, and hopefully he'll have them in the playoffs and not the play-in game with a healthy Gordon Hayward.
Yeah, the Gordon Hayward injury that really came at a bad time, and then LaMelo ended up missing a lot of time too. So they were looking. I mean, like it was maybe like a quarter.
Exciting, bro.
The quarter through the season, they were like sitting at the 5 seed. Granted, they were all like bunched up, like with the half game separation, but they were right in the thick of things for a good part of the year. So I'm going to be excited to see what the Hornets do going forward. Hopefully, they're able to build around him, so we don't hear about him talking about bouncing Charlotte.
And they have a younger roster with guys who it seems like get along. And we'll leave on this note, Roland, just because Bridge brought it up earlier. Team USA for the Olympics, how do you see it filling out? We already know that LeBron said he's not going to play. He's got a movie to roll out. Do you think it's going to be like Donovan Mitchell, Tatum, and these younger cats?
Yeah, we're going to see the young cats. I don't think we're going to see I guess the A-listers come out.
No Chris Paul, no KD, no LeBron.
No, probably not even. I don't even think Curry will play. I don't think Curry will
Harden.
play. Probably not Kyrie or Harden either. I think we're going to see
Booker, Mitchell.
All those guys are going to be playing for sure. And it's still good enough, but there's a couple of teams out there that are going to be competitive. Like who's the team that has all the Bogdanoviches? It's the Serbians. They're usually pretty good.
And don't they have Jokic as well?
Yeah, and they got Jokic. Yeah, so that team's going to be pretty exciting.
Yeah.
But
Canada
man,
won't be too bad either. Canada's got a decent team.
Are you going to watch the game right now?
Yeah, I'm already watching it. The Milwaukee's up by 5 in the second quarter with 3 minutes left. So I expect them to win tonight, and we'll get a game 7, and it's going to be on KD's shoulders again, I think.
So, we didn't even talk. Who do you got in that one for game 7 before we hang up? Who do you got winning the series? You still got the Bucks?
I still got the Bucks. Man. I just it took 49, 17, and 13 from him. Yeah. It took 7 of 8 from Jeff Green. KD's going to have to do that again. And I'm not saying that he can't, but I like the chances of him not doing it.
Okay.
So
I'm gonna end up going with the Nets because I think we're gonna get at least one healthy James Harden game or close to healthy. Maybe it'll be game 7 and they don't end up winning this one, but I'll go with the Nets. They got 2 chances to get it done. And you got KD and hopefully more healthy James Harden. But
for sure,
I think that's it for us. Everybody who was on the comments and watching us tonight.
There was a shitload of people in here today.
It was a good one. It was a good one. So we'll do lives more often, and they are going to count towards our total.
We're going to have to switch that up.
Executive call. So that was episode 46. I'll talk to you guys later.
All right, peace.